welcome to another exciting episode of Cars with Big Boy Trev. I am Big Boy Trev.
My name is Birigi.
And today we have something amazing. The cab from Coventry, England, ladies and gentlemen, introducing to you the Jaguar E-Pace. But first things first,
let's check out the highlights of today's show.
This week on Cars with Big Boy Trev, we dive deep into the world of LED light technology, show you the benefits of fitting these bulbs in your vehicle, and of course, give you a value for money proposition as to why LEDs are far much better as compared to your traditional headlamps. Finally, we go all the way to Coventry, England to sample Jaguar's latest cab, the E-Pace Soft-Roader, now ready to pounce with new technology, enhanced looks, and loaded with feisty engineering power. This, much more, only on Cars with Big Boy Trev.
this is the key to Jaguar's baby cab, the Jaguar E-Pace. And with prices starting at 9.3 million Kenya shillings, do you reckon it's a far better bargain as compared to the Mercedes GLA or the BMW X1? Well, let's find out. Starting with the front profile. And the first thing that you see on this front profile is the J-blade design of these LED adaptive headlamps. And these are borrowed straight from the big brother, the F-Type Coupe that we tested earlier on. Now, bringing that sporty nature into this SUV world makes this car stand out from the crowd. It's not bland, it's not just any other. It gives that aggressive, sportive SUV that now is taking Kenya by storm. Obviously, as you can see, the horizontal grille honeycomb actually gives this car that stance in with the Jaguar badge, and the aerodynamic badge on it denotes that this is a performance variant of the E-Pace. Obviously, as you can see, the front air dam goes down all the way to denote power and performance, and of course, the subtle bulges on the bonnet that you know that ingenium power is in it. Now, let's move over to the side profile and see what is different. So, there's black cladding from the bottom and extends all the way to the wheel arc. Denoting that this car can also do some bit of off-roading. Not bundu bashing, but off-roading. Maram, you can go to the shags or to the shamba with ease because it has all-wheel drive technology. And obviously with the subtle lines that Mr. Ian Callum, who did a good job designing this E-Pace, actually made this bulging front fender, and of course the lines which starts from the J-blade, connects all the way to the hip line, all the way to another bulging aspect of the rear fender, giving this car that athletic stance. It looks like a bulldog or a cab just about to pounce on prey. That is something so important. Obviously, as you can see, again, the silhouette, sloping roofline, denoting it's a coupe performance variant of this particular vehicle, gives this car just that different look and feel that you probably find with the rest of the German hard. Moving over to the back, and the first thing you notice is this J-blade design that is crawling with LED. It's a signature that this E-Pace has borrowed from the big brother, the F-Pace SUV. And of course, the sloping roofline means that there's a sort of hatchback design on the back. And what Jaguar have done to hide this is to actually merge the spoiler with the rear roofline. So it gives that thing, it's a sporty sort of coupe, but it's very practical for your everyday use. And obviously, as you can see, where actually the window ends is a sharp gap. It's a drop over here just to denote that this particular car also is, you know, it's got that je ne sais quoi we call, it's different. It's not just swooping and going all the way to the boot. Again, another design cue courtesy of Ian Callum, who did a great job designing the E-Pace. Moving over to the lower part of the bumper, and you can see the honeycomb design that has been translated from the grille is now at the rear diffuser, and of course the twin tailpipes denoting performance and power of the Ingenium engine that we're going to sample later on. But we need to find out if this F-Type inspired E-Pace has the same qualities inside. So you've seen from the walk around the J-blade design that has been the name of the game for Jaguar for the last 10 years, courtesy of the one and only Mr. Ian Callum, who's been the head designer of Jaguar, giving us amazing vehicles from the F-Type, the F-Pace, and so much more. And speaking of F-Type, do you reckon the design language also translates in the cabin of the E-Pace? Step inside, let's have a look. Well, as you can see from the dashboard layout, this is actually inspired by the F-Type, the powerful high-performance vehicle from Jaguar, and of course trying to denote that in a crossover mode, giving this car that different appeal that you probably not find on a Mercedes GLA or BMW X1. Obviously, the center console, as you can see, it is slanted lowerwards towards the gearbox, and of course it is a driver-centric angle towards the driver to give you all the information that you need very easily. So the highlight of that center console is this 10-inch Jaguar Touch Pro infotainment system that actually houses navigation, radio, vehicle dynamics, and of course you can actually park the vehicle using the park assist that is standard on this particular variant. And obviously Mr. Murigi, who's a resident tech expert, is going to give us a lowdown on how all these systems work. Now, right below it, you do have the climate control. What Jaguar have done, they've gone for the minimalistic way. They use of less buttons and knobs. So basically you do have just 3 knobs, so it's dual zone. So the left knob is for the passenger, the right knob is for the driver, and of course the center one modulates, the temperature, cabin pressure, and all those things. So you're able to modulate cabin temperature very easily, so that it gives you that ice cold feeling when you're going to Mombasa, or if you want to adjust the seats to give you that seat warming functionality when you're in Limuru. That is amazing. So right below it, you do have some spaces over here. You do have where you can actually put your cell phone, and there's actually a 12-volt socket where you can actually try and charge your cell phone. And what they've done actually is, again, there's that Jaguar skin texture that's on that surface that just gives you that attention to detail that Jaguar is actually trying to put. How do you fight the Germans in this category, attention to detail?
When it comes to technology, the Jaguar E-Pace has not been left behind. It has loads of technology all over the place, starting of course now with this fantastic in-control Touch Pro system. It's a 10-inch display that sits flush within the dashboard, so it's not one of these systems where the screen is all over the place. It's a beautiful system, very clear, very responsive. And let me just go through it now step by step. So we are going to start on the left. Over here we have the reverse camera. On higher spec versions, like Trevor had mentioned, there's a 360-degree camera. This, of course, now being the mid-spec SE, has not been left behind, because over here on the next button we have over here, we actually have now front and rear parking sensors, as well as a self-parking functionality, which we're going to show you a little later. In addition to that, we actually have navigation built into the car itself. So as you can see, you have maps that work within Kenya that are native to the car. So it doesn't matter whether you have network access, you don't have to be connected to the internet for these maps to work. They will work wherever you happen to be in Kenya, with or without internet access. Very clear, very easy to use, and just like I mentioned, with this screen being very responsive, you can actually pinch to zoom, you can move around. It is very responsive, very clear. On the higher spec versions, which have the 12-inch driver information display, you can actually have the map displayed in the middle of the driver system here. Like we mentioned, this is the SE. When it comes to Jaguar, it's all about customization. So if you want that, it's available as an option. So you come to the dealer and spec every little thing that you want to put in. Now, going over here to the next level we have over here now is the telephony section over here. Now, this is actually an enhanced phone interface. So it allows you now to use your phone while you're on the move, while keeping your hands on the steering and your eyes on the road. So it actually downloads all of your contacts from the phone, and you can make and receive calls using the screen itself or the voice control button that's on the steering wheel. In addition to that, we have, of course, now that beautiful Meridian 10-speaker surround sound system that is also controlled through this. So you can actually use auxiliary, Bluetooth, USB. You're covered basically across the board when it comes to music, and actually some videos you can actually watch over here.
How LED headlamps work. Vehicle lighting has come a long way, from the days of the tungsten lamp to heating of a filament placed in a halogen gas vacuum. Over the past 20 years, we've witnessed the introduction of high-intensity discharge lamps that use xenon gas, and now with LED lights, we are using electricity to create the light through highly efficient light-emitting diodes. LED are solid-state diodes that require less energy to operate and last longer than your traditional filament bulbs. How do LED bulbs function? Well, the science behind LED functionality is simple, as a diode converts electric power to light through one or various diodes within the headlight itself. This produces a bright light that rivals xenon or HID lighting, far superior to the light cast from a traditional headlight, but at a fraction of the consumption cost, thereby saving on fuel and maintenance cost over the long term. Intensity. LEDs offer practical advantages to the motorist as it generates high light intensity, which is significantly stronger than your standard bulbs. Longevity. LEDs may be an expensive aftermarket investment, but bear in mind your average lifespan of your pair of LED lights is estimated to be at about 10 years of continuous driving. Even if you drive 50% of the time in the dark or in poor visibility, that's 20 years of use on the average. It is therefore highly unlikely you will need to change your LED headlights once you install them, unless of course you choose an alternative upgrade to a later stage, probably a higher power type of LED light. If you're looking for a performance critical headlight for your car, then look no further. LEDs should work for you. Should you switch to LED? With all the advantages that I have mentioned above, it is relatively important and a wise move to purchase LED lamps to improve road safety and visibility during the night. Luckily, there are plenty of accessory shops that stock various designs of LED bulbs, sourced from Korea, China, Germany, and Turkey. Installation process is quite easy as they are designed to fit where regular plugs operate and do not require extra wiring or harnesses to work. Not only do LEDs look nice on your car, they also provide a slew of practical benefits that will make your motoring safer and more efficient. Many expensive new cars are now rolling off production lines with LED headlamps fitted as standard. In any other vehicle, it is possible to retrofit an LED headlight kit with minimal skill and about 30 minutes of your time, so you too can enjoy the benefits of actually having good quality LED lighting as you drive.
Coming down to the back of the Jaguar E-Pace, and as you can see, there's surprisingly quite a lot of space. It doesn't look like it from the outside, but as you can see, this seat is set to Trevor's driving position. He's 6'1", I'm 5'9", and as you can see, there's loads of space for both my knees and for my feet under the front driver's seat. And you can see space, of course, being a family car is at a premium. Trevor showed you what you can do with the front compartment over here. There's loads of space available here, but one of the things I really like about this is that the door cards at the back are big enough for you to put a 1 liter bottle in each of the doors at the side here. You also have, of course, now an armrest with a cup holder, an additional space over here just to keep any valuables that you might want to keep out of sight. In terms of comfort, we have that beautiful Windsor leather in ivory at the back here. It's a very comfortable place to sit. I would say 2 adults can sit here very easily at the back without a problem. In addition to that, we have aircraft style seat backs for any additional storage that you need, and 12-volt sockets over here, just one of them, but in a higher spec version you can actually spec 3 for the people to charge the devices here at the back. Coming round to the back of the Jaguar E-Pace, and the first thing I have to talk about is the Jaguar activity key. So it looks like a Fitbit or any activity tracker that people are used to having, especially now during COVID. Everybody has decided to keep fit, and this is actually going to help you with that, because what you do is that allows you to lock the car keys inside the car. So you leave the car key inside the car, hold the key, the watch over here, against the J on the Jaguar and lock the car, and it will actually deactivate the key. Allows you to walk, go do your stuff, go swimming, go take a jog with the key securely mounted to your hand. So this allows you, of course, now because it's waterproof, you can do whitewater rafting, zip lining, whatever exciting activities that a Jaguar owner is going to engage in. So when you come back to the car, hold the key against the J and you can unlock the car. So this actually has an automated tailgate and it opens to reveal 577 liters of capacity. What we've done today is put all our cruise luggage inside here so that we can show you that it is very possible to put enough luggage for 5 people on a short trip to Naivasha, or for maybe 2 people for a long trip to Mombasa inside here, and to carry that very well, very easily. Loads of space all over the place to secure the stuff that you need. So you have tie-down hooks at the bottom over here for cargo net if you're into that. There's a hook over here to carry any shopping that you need. As you can see, there's actually a place for you to put your first aid kit, your fire extinguisher, and under here we actually have space for the spare tire and all the stuff that you need to change that. There's also a 12-volt socket to charge any devices that you might have at the back here. And in addition to that, if you are to lay the rear seats all the way flat, that gives you access to 1,234 liters of capacity, meaning that this has all the space for the stuff that you need. But it's time for us to take this on the road and see what this small cat has to offer.
So we've seen the Jaguar E-Pace. It's stylish, it's got the looks, and of course the cabin is to die for. But the most important thing is, how does it perform on the road? So today I'm at Kiambu Ring and I'm sampling this particular car. The ingredients of making a good proper sport utility vehicle. The word sport needs an engine. So basically this E-Pace family is actually powered by the Ingenium family of engines that are actually built in Castle Bromwich in England, and they are actually two derivatives of each, so 2 petrols and 2 diesels. This particular petrol that I'm driving is a 250p, 250 horsepower, or 183 kilowatts, and this is made possible courtesy of a twin scroll turbocharger, direct injection, and of course variable valve timing, enough to produce 183 kilowatts and 365 newton meters of torque, and all that power is sent to the 4 poles courtesy of a 9-speed ZF gearbox, which I decide, if I flick on dynamic mode right now, it pulls and pulls and pulls, and you can actually tell that this particular car is not joking. It's actually very fast, and it hangs on to the gears to ensure that you explore the full potential of this Ingenium engine while returning good fuel consumption figures of about 6.9 liters per 100 kilometers. That is claimed. It is variable based on load, speed, and so many other things. Power is nothing without control, and this E-Pace is loaded with quite a number of gadgets just to ensure that you don't run out of talent. So from the active front, you do have the standard ABS and ESP, but the most important is the active torque vectoring by braking. So basically, it varies the amount of power between the axles using the ABS system so that it senses if you lose traction on any wheel, it will automatically intervene and slow down that wheel to ensure that you regain traction and you're able to drive this car very comfortably, even on sharp curves and crests like this. And one thing that I do love about this chassis that is built on the Jaguar Land Rover chassis, you'll also find on the Range Rover Evoque and the Discovery Sport, is the fact that the Jaguar engineers have retuned the suspension to ensure that it gives you that sporty ride. So obviously up front you do have McPherson struts, and at the back you do have double wishbones that allows this car to handle so well and feel planted. And of course it has that long stroke effect that basically allows you to drive off-road and still feel comfortable. It absorbs all the imperfections quite easily, and of course even the steering wheel, which is electronically controlled, just make sure that the nose is pointing at the direction that you intend it to be. So faster response, sharper response from the gearbox, the throttle, and of course the steering wheel. That is amazing. But again, if all hell breaks loose, then you can rely on the passive safety features like the 6 airbags that are strewn across the cabin, of course the 5-star safety rating, and your seat belt to keep you safe from harm's way.
So guys, we are now off the road in the brand new Jaguar E-Pace. This of course is based on the Range Rover Evoque, which means it has a trick under its sleeve. It actually is pretty good off the road. So obviously we have incredible ground clearance on this car. It's actually pretty good. And we have a 4-wheel drive system developed by Land Rover. So you know that it can handle the rough stuff if you need to go into that at the moment. Now it doesn't have Land Rover's terrain response system, but it actually does off-roading pretty well. What Trevor mentioned when we were on the tarmac is that it has something they call adaptive driveline. So it's actually a very good 4-wheel drive system that is built to make sure that you have traction on any surface that you happen to be on. Now obviously, this being a Jaguar, Usually that means being able to drive really fast around corners and on surfaces that of course they might have lower traction, like when it's raining or if the road happens to be muddy when you're on the tarmac. However, that four-wheel drive system still allows you to maximize your traction when you're off the road, a situation like we are right now, because obviously if you're the kind of person who buys a Jaguar, you probably are doing some really interesting stuff. Like I mentioned, the activity key, you're going off the road to go to a place where you can do zip lining, whitewater rafting, any activity like that, and that means that you are going to turn off the tarmac onto a bit of a rough Maram road like we're on right now. So far I have to say it's doing a pretty good job. The fact that it's raised means that the suspension is doing a very good job of damping all of the imperfections on the road. I think it's actually doing a pretty good job of that. We are in a bit of a tricky section, so I'm going to show you now one of the features that this car has, which is specifically built for it to off-road. Now that is what is called all-terrain progress response. Now effectively what that is that it is basically a cruise control system from when you're off the road. So what it does is that it modulates. You're actually able to, after pressing the button over here, use the cruise control settings to pick a speed, and the car's four-wheel drive system takes care of your throttle input, takes care of the traction, so it knows what each wheel is doing and it makes sure that it provides adequate traction to each wheel, and it just allows you to focus on just steering the car and making sure that it's going to a place that is not dangerous. So basically it reduces the activity that you're doing so that you can focus more on steering the car and making sure that you're choosing the right line, you're going in the right place, and you're not damaging the car or not making things difficult for the people around you.
So guys, you've seen what the Jaguar E-Pace is all about. It's all about the styling and of course the subtle cues that it has inherited from the big brother, the F-Type sports coupe that we tested with Mr. Murigi some time back. But Mr. Murigi, what do you think about this E-Pace?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind is the fact that it actually has quite a lot of space. The styling makes it look like it's really small, but there's loads of space for people in the back seat and for the stuff that they need to carry. The other thing now that I have to mention is they've thrown all the technology you can imagine at this thing, making it the perfect car for the growing millennial family.
Now, on the road, how much does it cost?
Well, prices for the E-Pace start at 9.3 million shillings. This comes, of course, now with Inchcape's 5-year, 150,000 kilometer warranty, whichever comes first.
Wow, and we all know that this particular E-Pace also exists in a space where there's competition. What are the key rivals in this segment?
Well, the key rivals in this segment, of course now being premium compact SUVs, include the Mercedes GLA, which we have reviewed before on this show, and the BMW X1.
Wow, guys, do you reckon that this particular car is far much better as compared to the rivals? Send us your thoughts as seen in the social media handles below. We'll get back to you next week with the feedback. But before we go, Mr. Murigi, if the audience wants to watch Cars with Big Boy Trev, how can they do that?
Well, all our previous episodes, including the review of the Mercedes GLA and the F-Type, are available on our YouTube channel. That's CBBT_TV, should be on the screen below us over here. You can also check us out on all our social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, as well as I mentioned earlier, now the YouTube channel.
Well, signing out, this is Big Boy Trev.
This is Murigi. Drive safe
and be safe.